I've been extremely happy with the follow-up. I know that there's a one-year contract typically where a builder is required to come back and on a warranty situation, but Rick was much more than that. I'd heard horror stories about some other builders that build a house and they're gone, and you never see them again. In Rick's case, he's here. He was here whenever I needed him. In fact, he's here now if I need him on anything, and I've been extremely happy with that. Rick is a visionary. I mean, Rick has a background, an interesting background in academic background in architecture and psychology, and his input onto little variations of the house have all worked very well. A lot of people that I know who have built houses have always come back and said, I wish I'd done this differently, I added a plug here, I'd have done this there, but in my case, I'm happy with, I don't think I've done anything differently, and a lot of that is due to Rick's vision. As far as energy efficiency goes, I don't have an extremely large home, but I'm at the coast and I get a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and that was an issue going in. Also, being a small home, we wanted sound, some sound barriers between the rooms, and the home was built very tightly and very energy efficient. I come here, I leave the home, and I'll come back in the wintertime, and a lot of houses I know take half an hour before they're warm and comfortable. This house is very comfortable within 15 or 20 minutes. We talked a lot about lighting because I like an open home and I have a view from my home, and I wanted to maximize that view. And as we looked at the plans, we sat down and talked at length about doing that. And Rick came up with some very innovative ideas of how to increase the window size without decreasing the structural integrity of the house. And it's worked out, I'm very happy. When I was researching building a home, I had gotten 3 other bids for this house, and I just didn't feel good about the bids. I didn't feel good about the builders, and I made a decision that I wasn't going to build it. And then I met Rick, and just basically coincidentally, I met him at a gymnasium when we were working out together, and got to know him through a mutual friend, and reopened the idea, and was very glad that I did. Rick came in and gave me a very competitive bid on a square footage basis, and so I wouldn't have built this house if I hadn't met Rick, and very glad that I did. Obviously, building a home is a large expense. Maybe not for some people, but for me it was. And I had a budget, and I was determined that I wasn't going to go to the bank to build my home. And I told Rick that, and I told him what I had to work with. And I'm convinced that I got the maximum home that I could get for what was in my budget. And I was afraid that surprises would come up during the building process that would blow my budget out and I'd have to go into debt. Although there were some minor improvements and they all made sense, there were no major surprises, and I was very happy with the house that I got for my budget. I can't speak high enough of Rick's integrity. There was one point in the building process where he called me and he says, Dan, he says, I made a little bit of mistake on the math on a certain item in your home. And I started thinking, well, oh boy, here we go. And he says, I overcharged you. And he says, so I'm going to cut you a check back. And that just speaks very high. I would never have known. I would never known that he'd overcharge, but it was for materials, I believe. And get a check in the mail, you know, that's Rick. Rick likes what he does. I can't imagine Rick doing anything else but building houses. He's an expert at it, and he's a visionary. And I just remember an instance when we were talking about, in the talking stages of my house, and we looked at another home in the area. And I said, well, I kind of like this. And he said, well, Dan, he said, I won't put my name on your home unless we do it structurally this way. And I just think that speaks volumes for his integrity, and he understands what it is structurally as well as aesthetically to have a quality home. Although as the homeowner, I did not have a tremendous amount of contact with Rick's subcontractors. I did come and check from time to time because it was fun to see how the progress was going on the home. And I was impressed, very impressed with the subcontractors and their efficiency and their craftsmanship. As I mentioned earlier, I had a budget for my home, and it was very important that I stayed within that budget. But I also wanted, I didn't want to skimp, and I wanted the best house I could get for the money, as anybody would. And I'm convinced, as I said before, that with working within the budget that I had, and with some minor modifications, that I got the maximum amount of home that I could have gotten for the money. It was important to me when I finally decided to build the house that the person I was going to work with and be my builder, that I had a good relationship with that person. Now, we always look at the numbers, and we sat down and talked about price per square foot. But there's another dimension beyond that. And if I would have lined up the 4 bids that I had, and they were all equal, it's no doubt that I would have chosen Rick as my builder. And I'm very glad that I did. I would not have built it with any of the other builders that I researched. It was very important for me to have a good working relationship with my builder. I knew we were going to spend quite a bit of time together, and should, and in fact we did. And when an issue came up that I had a concern about, Rick was very responsive. And an issue came up that he had a concern about that might cost a few extra bucks here or there. He was very good about calling me. I was very happy with that. There's more to building a house than dollars per square foot. Having a good rapport with your builder is extremely important. And I had that rapport. And Rick and I have become very good friends over the years, and I'm very happy with his work. I had a vision of what I wanted when I started this project, but I wasn't sure how to make that vision work. I mean, I'm not an architect, and I'm certainly not very good at engineering, but I just had a picture of kind of what I wanted, and Rick took my thoughts and made them work. And I couldn't be happier with the results. Since Rick built my house just over 5 years ago, I've had other friends build homes. And just out of curiosity, I've asked them, if you had to do it over, are there things that you would change? And invariably there are. And some things are minor, just little things like where a plug might go or a light fixture. But then also some major changes, some structural changes that they would have done. In my case, with Rick, because of his competency, if I had to build this house again today, I wouldn't change anything. During the building process, Rick would call me from time to time and say, Dan, you know, this might just cost a little bit extra money, but I think if we did this, that it would add to the house aesthetically, and sometimes little structural items as well. And he kept me very much on top of those issues. And no one of those things would make a difference, but all added together made a huge difference in my home. This is my first experience building a home. Hopefully not my last. I had a very good experience with Rick. And as a matter of fact, if I were to build another house today, I wouldn't even bother getting bids. I'd just let Rick build it.